Today, we are here to talk about something monumental for Des Moines Public Schools and what it can do for our 30,000 students. I'm Kristin Roark. I'm the Director of Early Childhood Education. I get to work with all the little people. I have been working in early childhood for 2 decades, and I feel really honored to work in a district that sees the value of early childhood education, and that's a small part of this big plan that we're going to talk about today. So we're going to talk about a couple things. We're going to talk about what $265 million looks like and what those changes will do for our students and the impact on instruction and our facilities today. So let's begin. So let's talk about our Reimagining Education plan. What is Reimagining Education? It's really about completely reimagining how we do business in Des Moines Public Schools. We want to be the place where students and families want to go. We want it to be a world-class education, a destination district. We are the biggest district in the state of Iowa. We want to be the place where everyone wants to come. It's not just going to be about facilities, but it's really about improving outcomes for our students in so many ways, and that's what we're going to get into. But it also is about facilities. Many of our facilities are 60, 70, 80 years old, and it's about improving them and being more efficient with those facilities. So why are we reimagining education? Really, this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity that's going to impact generations to come. We're really going to be looking at how do we embrace the strengths of our district? How do we really make sure we're focusing our resources around student need and being really purposeful about that? But also, we got to retain our wonderful staff that we have. And so we know that right now there's some things that just aren't meeting our students' needs. We have, like I said, we have facilities that are outdated and not efficient, and it's not always serving our enrollment patterns. So we've got to do something different. So we really need to address the realities. Education is competitive. We are competitive, competing with the Metro, the other school districts, private schools, charter schools. We've seen a decline in enrollment. We've got to keep our students here in Des Moines. We've lost 2,200 students over the last 7 years. We want to flip the script. We want to do better for our students. With that reduction of 2,200 students, that has led to about $16 million in reduced state funding. And then that impacts our kids. So now we're going to talk about what does $265 million mean in this Reimagining Education plan. I'll do the next couple from here to preschool and then go from there. All right, so this means building new learning spaces, 130 innovative, flexible learning environments. So within that means that we're going to design and construct a new modern elementary at Moulton. And it's going to be more of a dedicated focus on the performing arts right in the urban core of our district. Our enrollment has shown that that's where the majority of our kids are, right in that center. So that's why we are really looking at Moulton to tear down and build a new facility that's really state-of-the-art to serve our kids there.
Did you say performing arts for elementary school?
Fine and performing arts. So right now they're a turnaround art school, and so that building will be a PK8 building. Right now it's a PK5.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
But it's currently already just like a art school,
Yep.
the current building
Yep.
is.
Lots of arts integration programs are there.
And we'll also have time at the end for, to answer all your questions to the best of our abilities. It also means within these 130 learning environments, there'll be 60 modern classrooms to support critical thinking, hands-on project-based learning, over 50 specialized CTE spaces that really reflect real-world learning. And Tascha's going to talk a lot about CTE and Diploma Plus and what that actually means and what that looks like. And then there'll be 18 purpose-built classrooms to support the expansion of Montessori programming as well within the district. In addition, we'll also be looking at increasing and improving just the overall functional capacity of all of our high schools.
Is this on a PowerPoint that can be sent out, or is there printed material with those specific numbers on it? Because your mailer didn't have those numbers, that's why I'm asking.
Oh, yes, this presentation can be available. We also have a website specifically dedicated to reimagining.
Yep, so
But
everything,
I'm talking about the specifics.
yep, all of
not the
these,
big ideas.
yes, so all of these numbers and all of those things are already on the website. The Reimagining Education, I don't know the
DMPS.org.
there you go. And we can write that down for you at the end if you'd like. So here's just some examples of how we really can change some of our learning environments. These are newer designs, right?
Yeah, can I jump in?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, so these are design concepts. We've been working with some architects and design teams already. We're focusing on adding career and tech education. So when we say CTE, we don't mean concussions. We mean career and technical education. Is everybody familiar with Central Campus programming, our beloved Des Moines Tech High? Okay. So that is a career and tech ed building. That's where our trades, our culinary arts, cybersecurity, auto, aviation, all of those types of programs are. And so we need to get those programs back into our middle schools. It's been not only a local trend, but a national trend over the last 10 to 20 years to take career and tech ed out of our middle schools. I don't agree with that. I didn't agree with that 10 or 20 years ago. And that was because there's been significant teacher shortages in career and tech ed because majority of the people that have those skills go and make a lot more money in the field than they do teaching. So we've been competing with wages for those things. And unfortunately in budget cuts, things like arts, career and tech ed, art and music, some of those programs tend to be the first to go. And so this is about us bringing these back. It does require dedicated spaces for these types of programs, equipment, and learning. And so these are actual renderings of what our new CTE edition, specifically at Brody and McCombs, could look like. So what we will be doing in all 3 middle schools that are going to be getting CTE editions added to them is we are going to have a health science designated space. When we look at the information that we have from our students around what their interests and passions are, when we met with our community and said, hey, if we're gonna have signature programming, what are the topics that are key elements of that? Health sciences shows up. We have so many students and families that are already engaged in health sciences, and this is an area of interest for them. So we need to have learning spaces that are large enough to have some medical equipment in there so our kids can actually get in there and touch it and feel it and experience it, right? Just one second. And then also these spaces allow for bigger opportunities for our partners to come in. An ambulance, if students are interested in EMT, could pull right up to this space. It's flexible, so students can actually go into an ambulance and kind of feel that and sense that, right? Having dedicated spaces for things like engineering and robotics, so that students are taking those engineering and design concepts, actually creating products, right? Utilizing those high science, technology, and math skills, right? And then we need maker spaces where kids can take those wonderful literacy, math, science, and social studies skills and make meaning of their learning by doing hands-on, real-world, authentic projects along with business partners as well. You have a quick question
You
here?
mentioned Brody and Macomb Middle School,
Mhm.
so they currently have it or go to have it?
They're going to have
And
it.
didn't you take 3 are going to have it?
Yeah, we're looking at Goodwill as well.
Oh, okay.
This is my favorite slide, and my favorite part of the reimagining, of course, being in charge of preschool in our district. So, for those of you that don't know, we actually, as a state, only get funding for half-day preschool, but we've really been working on expanding full-day preschool within the district. We added 8 new full-day classrooms the last 2 years. And the reason is half-day programming it doesn't work for our families. It's really difficult for those that have full-time jobs to transport drop them off at 8 o'clock and pick them up at 11 o'clock in the middle of the day. We know that full-day preschool really helps support the workforce for our families to be able to work or get back to work. And it pays off, it dividends. So there's so much research behind if you attend a high quality preschool program, you are more likely to graduate, you are less likely to end up incarcerated, you're less likely to need special education services. For every dollar that you invest in high quality early childhood education is a $17 return on investment because it pays off. We have a lot of data around our students that attend one of our preschools versus those that don't. And the gap between those, they don't catch up.
Are there any requirements, like if you have to be a citizen to be this, or is this for everyone?
As far as attending preschool,
Yeah.
it's the same as K-12 students.
Okay, real thing.
And our data has shown that our students on our literacy and math screeners, if you you qualify for free and reduced lunch, you are 2 times more likely to meet that literacy benchmark. And if you're an English language learner, you're 3 times more likely. Just getting into a high quality environment is an intervention for our students. And that is exactly why this is part of the plan. So we are not serving all of our students in preschool right now. We're serving about 50% in our district that attend with us in kindergarten. Our goal ultimately is 100% because we know it pays off, not just in literacy, but in math and in social emotional, along with their social skills. And so we keep saying that we're building brighter beginnings because it actually has lifelong impacts, and there's a new data that have research that's come out that shows that it's actually multi-generational. That if you attend a preschool, then your grandchildren are more likely to have higher earnings or be self-employed or work full-time. So it's a whole package. It's just not just one thing that's going to shift our district, but we have to start from the foundation and build up from there.
I didn't get a chance to introduce myself. My name is Tascha Brown. I am the Director of Career and Technical Education for Des Moines Public Schools. I also oversee all of our efforts for post-secondary readiness. So I am specifically responsible for helping improve outcomes for not only getting to graduation, but ensuring that before they graduate from high school, they have a plan for themselves, whether they're gonna enroll in a 2 or 4 year or some type of training program, whether they're interested in enlisting into a military branch of their choosing, or whether they want to receive industry recognized credentials, have some work-based learning opportunities with our employers and industries, and go straight into employment. We call those the 3 E's. So that's enroll, enlist, and employ. And what we're doing is we're flipping the script in terms of when probably a majority of us were in school, there was an expectation for most families that we are successful if we make it to college. We know that the landscape of work has changed. We know that growth and economic development requires us to have highly skilled, high-trained employees, and not all of those paths require college. In fact, the amount of hiring practices in our country that are requiring 4-year degrees are changing, and we're seeing major employers, including some of those right here in our city, moving to more skills-based hiring practices, okay? When we look at the earning power of students, and when we take a look at some of those shifts in that workforce development space, you might have heard words like STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Some people like to add the A in there because we love our acronyms in education, and we gotta have 1 million of them. And STEAM is the same as STEM, it's just recognizing the arts component that's woven into that, okay? When we went to our community, again, and we asked, what are things that are interest to you? Again, if we were to have these signature programmings, overwhelmingly we heard about career and tech education related specifically to STEM fields. The other part that we heard is that we have really incredible performing and visual arts programs already in our district, but our students and our families want more opportunities within that. And so that became the reason for taking a look at Moulton as becoming a K-8 signature school. That school building already has arts integration programming for our younger students, and so this would just be giving them a facility that matches the actual beautiful, wonderful things that students are doing in that building. We also know that one of the country's top performing elementary schools is Coles Montessori. And access to that is very limited. We only have one of those buildings in our district. And so this is ensuring that we have more Montessori schools. The overall plan takes us from having 5 comprehensive high schools with very distinct feeder patterns of these elementaries and these middle schools go to one of these 5, to really following the way that the rivers flow through our district and creating 3 regions. So we'll have the Northeast region, the Northwest region, and we'll have the South region. East High School will remain a comprehensive high school for the Northeast region. Roosevelt will remain the comprehensive high school for the Northwest region, and Lincoln will remain a comprehensive building for the South region.
Does Finley already have Montessori curriculum?
They have started into Montessori curriculum. Yes, they have.
How does that compare to Cole? I mean, I know Cole's been around for a long time.
Yeah, so they're in their 2nd year of implementation of that. And so what we know is that parents they're very responsive. We had a lot of community support for onboarding another Montessori program.
Is that going to be continued at that location?
And then the other thing to add to that is Coles is PK8, or preschool through 8th grade, and Finley is currently K6, just because of physical constraints with that.
There was a plan to go, or to convert, I think it was the old Adams School into a Montessori program on the east side several years ago. They couldn't staff it. So I'm thinking, you want to add 5 more Montessori schools. That is an issue. And two more?
2 more.
So again, if we couldn't staff 1 more, how do we staff 2 more? And I understand school funding, this plan, Reimagining Education, is only for facilities. But, that was the excuse for not having a Montessori availability on the east side, was that they couldn't staff it. So I'm just wondering how we address that issue. But, we want to save that for later, that's fine.
Yeah. Staffing will be a challenge. Staffing is already a challenge, not just for us, for every school district in the state and in the country, right? But we get into some more specifics around that later. So again, you heard me talk about redesigning the middle school experience. Middle school is formative. When we look at our enrollment data, and we have the goal of making sure that enrollment into the district, right, actually exceeds enrollment out. Right now, that is flipped, and it's flipped heavily. We're seeing more families leave our district than come in. And where we're losing majority of those students, regardless of location, is in that transition from 5th to 6th grade. So we are losing students at the middle school level. A lot of that is because class sizes change, overcrowding is different. We've been very intentional about keeping our elementary class sizes low This plan also hopes to maintain those ratios in our elementary classrooms, but as students go into middle school and high school, right, class sizes get larger. A lot of those spaces and those existing classrooms are smaller. The other thing is programming. Like I said, we kind of gutted our middle schools out of the programming that allows students to explore themselves as it relates to their learning, right? What they might be interested in, exposing them to that wide world of work, as well as those hands-on opportunities and
I have a
experiences.
neighbor and several people in my neighborhood that have opened local students at Johnston, Irvindale. One of the things they're saying that I didn't hear was safety, because the resource officers have been taken out. Their kids don't feel safe anymore. And I know specifically two cases in elementary where a third grade teacher was assaulted with a pencil. Also, at San Jose, their principal was so concussed he was out for 10 days. So that's another reason why people are leaving, we're not talking about. So when we're talking about reimagining education, why are we also talking about reimagining safety? It's because this is one of the reasons we're leaving. I know.
Absolutely.
So does the plan address that? Does it have any discussion over it?
Absolutely. So there were 3 critical reasons that we heard from families, or I would say just the general narrative of Des Moines Public Schools is that our schools aren't safe. The other part is that our athletic teams, right, aren't as competitive. And then the third highest reason was academic and achievement scores, okay? So we know that those are the 3 things that negative narratives really highlight for us. I will tell you that there's a reason that people think that and believe that, to your point, sir. Part of reimagining new facilities is looking at safety. It's ensuring that, you know, every building has a secure vestibule. This will allow us to upgrade glass within our buildings. It also allows us, like in those CTE spaces, to have different storm shelters and different capacities around how we keep our students safe. So thank you for lifting that up.
So,
But this is about
you
that.
said there were 3 things. There's safety, sports, and what was the second one?
Achievement, academics.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if safety is the #1 reason, it feels like there hasn't been enough emphasis on this whole reimagining thing. It sounds tangential. So if you take it back to the board, there are people really concerned about this. And one other thing, I don't know that it's the job of the board or the district to attract students. It's more to serve them. If we're getting into that mode, I think we go down dangerous paths. That's my 2 cents.
I agree with that, but enrollment equals dollars. That's how majority of schools are funded, is in an enrollment-based model. And so losing enrollment for the reasons that we have listed, those 3 main reasons, has such a multi-million-dollar fiscal impact that we can't continue, we can't do what we want to do and what we know that we need to do.
You know, you remind me of something else, and this is more positive note. We have so many immigrants in our schools that it's difficult for a given teacher to teach to the different levels. So you have some kids that are 3rd, 5th grade that don't even know their ABCs. That's not to knock them, they can't hear, they're not gonna know, they're gonna have to learn it. But the teachers are having to teach across the whole spectrum of a 5th grader that might read at an 8th grader level and somebody that's not at a kindergarten level. So we need more teachers. But we also need a Doge effort through the school. I'm here to tell you, we have behavior teachers that aren't doing their jobs, we have coaching teachers, coaches that aren't doing their jobs, we have principals that aren't leaving their offices. So what effort has been expended in this whole reimagining to examine this from a Doge perspective? How are we getting more done with what we already have?
Right.
Instead of raising the 265 million.
Yep. So because we're at a tipping point, sir, funding also doesn't equate for the rise in inflation, right? And so when you compound loss of enrollment in our schools, funding, also the state funding model has not changed a whole lot for students with IEPs and students that are English language learners. Historically, school districts, if a student has an IEP, there's additional funds that come from that $7,600 per pupil. That is the state rate. But like with our ELL and MLL populations, that's a funding formula that we know they need more resources, we need more staff, we need more things of that nature. So when we're taking a look at spaces, we are talking about experience. This isn't just about physical plant space. This is about ensuring that we have more pathways. So we know that we have a very diverse population, not just racially and ethnically, but also within their academics. And so to your point is that having the flexibility to have different models, K-8, more access to preschool, which is going to help, lessen that opportunity gap that we're seeing in our schools. When we have spaces and a plan for students to take more coursework that is of interest to us, we do see attendance rates go up. We actually see behavior go down, right? And the students that we're talking about get more of what they need, okay? And so it's helping us go from very traditional to being able to say, hey, there's a lot of really cool things that are going on in public education in different spaces. We already have really good things going on in DMPS. They're just not accessible to everybody. And so this is about ensuring that everybody has those wonderful opportunities. The next slide for me. These are the retiring building spaces. So Walnut Street is looking at coming offline as early as the end of this year. We've already met with the staff and the principals. HR is working with those teachers. We're working with those communities and those families.
We're meeting with them monthly.
Thank you. Harding will be coming offline, how, and we're already pretty much moved out. There's a few things left, but we're looking at the administrative office on Fleur where all of our district office folks have been. Those folks have actually been deployed into other spaces and buildings. For example, I'm a district office administrator, and I'm in a building, right? I'm not sitting in an office in a cubicle somewhere else.
Same as for me, I'm a district-wide employee, and I'm office out of Woodlawn, one of our preschool centers.
So we also already have people that are very interested in taking this space off of our hands, right? In purchasing this as well. So again, as we're taking things offline, it's not that we're just closing buildings, it's also allowing us to source those buildings, right? Bring some more revenue in to invest and to put into other places.
Is there an estimate on how much money that's gonna bring in from selling these properties?
I'm not sure, but I will certainly ask that.
Okay.
If you wanna write that on a note card, I would be happy to get that answered.
I just have a few comments and looking at this new plan. First of all, who am I speaking to?
So I'm Kristin Roark, I'm the Director of Early Childhood Education.
Okay,
And I'm Tascha Brown, Director of Career and Tech Education for the district.
super. And you should have a certain amount of knowledge of what I'm going to speak of. Most people don't realize that 60% of the property, or 40% of the property in the city of Des Moines is not taxed. That's number one. Number two is I was the director and department chair for the Aviation Engineering Technologies program. And I can tell you this, that in 16 years that I ran that program, there were only 3 high schools in the United States that did what we did. We offered 52 hours of college credit at no cost to the parents. Now here's some other facts. While I was there, I did a P&L, excuse me, every second year on the cost of my program. And that was everything. And out of 16 years, only 1 year was I in the black. I brought in about $15 million worth of equipment for the students at no cost to the public. My attendance was 100% at the end of any given one semester. My parent-teacher conference attendance was 100 to 105%, spring and fall. We had an internship with the 132nd Fighter Wing that my seniors could attend. I taught both high school and college. My point is this, you're asking for $265 million. The budget currently is in excess of $600 million. Yes, I think we're top heavy in certain areas. But what I'm trying to say is that you have existing programs within this district that nobody knows about. Okay? When I ran that program, we were on TV. We had big crowds, we brought in aircraft, we did an unbelievable amount of things. And I had to answer to the FAA at least 3 inspections a year. I'd take any child left behind because those guys, they don't mess around, okay? But my point is this, is that this district has some very, very unique programs and they're killing it. So what are you going to do to improve? You know, you talk about safety, you talk about all these other concerns. I say this, and I say this tongue in cheek. One of the things I was most proud of is that you go to any building in this district, walk up to the door, and what do you see on the sidewalk? Black gum splotches. In 16 years, there was never a single gum splotch on my sidewalk. Safety, we never had a concern, and we were a satellite location. I had an incident one time where a young man cut himself, seriously enough, that I thought he may have cut the femur artery in his leg. I called Central Campus. I was told by the director at that time that I was not to call 911. Luckily, we got the bleeding stopped, and my comment back was, this type of serious injury, you don't think I'm not gonna call 911? Especially when we're that close to a facility that could help. But I also timed from the nurse and the SRO to get from Central Campus back out to my facility. Took 22 minutes. My point is this, I understand what you were talking about, but how can you justify spending an additional $265 million on a bond issue? It's gonna cost us. Most of you don't know that the Polk County gave the Des Moines Airport $350 million on a bond issue. We're gonna be on the hook for that. Yet, when I had designed and had Iowa State Architectural School come down and design a new facility for us, there was a lot of love in the school board meeting, and they came to me and asked me would I support them becoming an authority. I said, well, what's in it for the school? They told me. I said, okay. The first thing they did when they got into office as an authority, which means they don't answer to anybody, is they refused to renew our lease. I tried to tell the district, I tried to fight because we had planned to go to the other side of the airport. I was on the board of directors for an outfit that represented all the aviation schools in the country. When I started on the board, there were 140 FAA 147 schools. When I left, there were 90. And 95% of those that closed were not on an airport. But yet we spent $4.5 million to build that facility out there in Combs. I went to the FAA. I signed the original certificate to certify that program as an airframe and power plant facility. It took us 4.5 years at no cost to any of you. 4.5 years for us to get that certification. I've talked to the FAA on numerous occasions. First thing they said is, well, you have to have somebody from the district approve us, you looking at reports, inspection reports. Right now, I can't tell you what condition that program's in.
I can. I've been running it for 7 years. Sir.
Okay, then tell me.
I will. So when we take a look at the opportunities that we have at Central Campus, specifically our aviation program, and I completely agree, we have a marketing issue. That is something as the director of Central Campus for the last 7 years that I have been strongly advocating for, because I do think that there are way too many families within our own community, even to this day, that still don't know that these programs exist. To speak to our aviation program specifically, we are still a certified FFA center. We are still practically one of 3 programs in the United States that are doing that. We also have a Part 147 where we're teaching pilot ground school, and we just got instructor certified in Part 106 where we're offering drone technology. And in fact, we're actually certifying 16-year-olds with their drone certification from the FFA. The FAA. FFA is right next to it with our ag program. So we have, no we're not. So we have students that are already able to work in a variety of sectors with drone, whether that be for agriculture purposes, whether that be for real estate purposes. We have included about 30 more flight simulators. We've increased our intro to aviation programming, and we're looking at adding even more drone technology and things of that nature. So Central Campus, in the last 7 years, has not only increased our enrollment. When I came to Central Campus 7 years ago, we were fluctuating anywhere between 12 to 1,500 kids. We currently serve up to 2,500. We have opened up access. When I came to Central, students were very heavy. Order of business as director was to say that any student that wants a Central Campus experience deserves one. And so it doesn't matter if they're English language learners, doesn't matter if they have IEPs, doesn't matter if they have behavior challenges or attendance challenges. This is the type of learning that engages those students, and we see better outcomes. We know that students that attend career and tech education programs, and these are national statistics, similar to those of pre-K, are much more likely to graduate high school, they have higher performance, and they have higher attendance rates. When we see students that maybe struggle to get to school or attend school in their traditional programmings, but they're in a CNA program, or to your point, sir, thank you for your service to our district, by the way.
I'm also a retired military pilot.
Well, thank you for your service with that as well. We see that students have a 95 to 100% attendance rate in their courses at Central Campus, because again, it's things that they're choosing. It makes meaning for them. It's usually aligned to a goal or something that they want to do outside of high school. And so a lot of that is what this is about. But again, not all of our students want to get on a bus and leave their home high schools to come down and get that opportunity. And I understand that, and I recognize that. And so this is about saying that we want to help get aspects of these things, certainly the learning modalities that we do in those spaces, that we want, no matter if they want to leave their home high schools or not, that they have access to those programs. I'm actually going to ask that we reserve our questions till the end of the presentation, because I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. But thank you for your comments, sir.
I would like to talk to you before I leave.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to hear terms like Diploma Plus. So when we are taking a look at preparing students for successful futures, again, it's about giving them skills. This is about skills-based education. If I'm literate, but I don't know how to apply my literacy skills to being a communicator, to advocating for myself, right? For advocating for things that are important to me, right? Doesn't have a whole lot of meaning. So this is about application, and it's about career development as well. Okay. Diploma Plus. So when we are taking a look at some opportunities, and this has been a significant part of my work the last 7 years, I'm also a proud product of Des Moines Public Schools. I spent time in this library as a child. I worked as a lifeguard over there for several years. I'm a proud alum of East High School. I went to Douglas Elementary, Hoyt, and East. And so this feels like legacy work for me specifically, being in this district. And what I have seen through my experiences as the director of Central Campus and being engaged with career tech ed, and I'm an English teacher by trade. So I spent the first half of my career as a language arts teacher for middle school and high school students. I never thought that I would end up in CTE. That wasn't something I would have guessed. But for me, I've always worked with students that are at risk of not graduating, I've always had high populations of the underdog, if you will, because I was good with those kids, probably because I was one of those kids when I was in school. So it's really, really important to me that a Des Moines Public High School diploma actually allows our students to earn a family sustainable wage within 4 to 6 years of leaving our school district, with access to healthcare and benefits and upward mobility. When we take a look at national trends, when we take a look at local trends, even our employment rate has been very, very good, right? Families are not able to work one job and feed their families. That's unacceptable. We have high density of our state with both generational and situational poverty. It's not enough anymore for students to just get a diploma like it was when I went to high school in the 90s, right? We have to do more. And so this is about ensuring that within 4 to 6 years of graduating our institutions with the skills, the learning experiences, and the career-connected learning, that these new physical plant structures are gonna help us put into our buildings across our district, that our students are earning a family sustainable wage with 4 to 6 years. They're working back in our community. There are electricians, our welders, our plumbers, right? There are iron workers. And they can go and take advantage of those opportunities while they're still in high school. That's what this vision is about, okay? And so when we take a look at Diploma Plus, we're saying that of course we want all students to graduate, but we want them to graduate and earn 24 credits of college credit before they leave high school, right? And earn a seal of biliteracy if they're proficient in more than one language. We want them to graduate high school and have A's or B's in a career and tech ed pathway. They come to welding for 2 years and they get an A or B and they get those certifications. We should be honoring and recognizing that just as much as the fact that they're walking across the stage with a diploma. And so there are going to be 11 distinctions that we will be recognizing students for, and those 11 distinctions are things that our students and our families identify as something that's important to them. And then this is about us being responsive as a school district and saying, if that is your path, and if that's something that is of interest to you, how are we aligning your everyday educational experiences to ensure that you're not only in that pathway, but you're successful in that pathway, you are resourced up in that pathway so that finances or skills or costs are not a barrier for you entering that workforce, okay? So if we keep going through our slides here, we didn't put the examples in. Okay, well I gave you some examples of like career and tech ed, seal of biliteracy, honoring more college credit, those that maybe letter in athletics and activities all 4 years, the things that our students do. And honestly, those things have become even larger reasons as to why our kids come to school every day. Maybe they don't like certain things about their school, but if they have things embedded in their day that they feel that they have agency, student voice and choice over, right? That's gonna be the thing they wanna engage in. And if we think about that, we all live that way, right? I don't necessarily enjoy, I'm terrible at basketball, right? If I had to play basketball every single day or a few times a week, I'm not gonna be super motivated and engaged to do that. I would still show up and try, but I'm not gonna love it. Versus, I actually love to cook. So if I get to go and cook, right, and that's a passion of mine, then I'm much more likely to do the things that I need to do so that I can continue to have access to those courses that I care about. So we're taking a look at maker spaces, increasing access to technology, equipment, highly contextualized experiential learning opportunities, okay? So right now, we do have students that are earning some of those distinctions. Not all of those additional distinctions to a high school diploma are new. Some of them we've had. And so we have been able to pull some preliminary data from some of those things, like students that earn 22 college credits while they're in school. We have a lot of students that do that. We have students that are super close to an associate's degree before they ever leave. The challenge with that is it's not accessible to everybody. You gotta go to campus or academy to do that. That's not okay. Even as a director and somebody who loves Central Campus, I'm not for that, okay? So when we take a look at our graduates over the last 3 years, And how many of them have earned the already existing type of distinctions that we have? And I think we have 4 or 5 of them. We see that every single one of those students that has college credit, right, that has entered a military branch of their choosing, you know, some of those things, they have a 95 to 100% graduation rate. And that is significant because right now, our current reality, folks, is that we have a 72.2% graduation rate. Okay? And we're seeing graduation rates decline across the country. Okay. So this is alarming because we know the power, the earning power of those that earn a high school diploma is significantly higher than somebody who doesn't. But again, just because we have a high school diploma doesn't mean that we have access, right, to those higher wage, high skill jobs. So this is the data. When we look at the percent of students that earns a diploma and in addition, look at where our graduation rates fall. That's what we want. We know this works. I've seen this work at Central Campus. When students are able to have agency and have time to work with, sir, I think you shared with me that you're an accountant, right? The kid loves, or a background in accounting, the kid loves finances and they want to go into actuary, right? We might not be able to offer an actuary science class, right? But we can get them access to you, right? We can get them an internship. We can ask you to mentor them. We can ask you to come into one of our business classes and talk about your career, all the benefits of that, right? We want to see what your house looks like. We want to see what your boats and your motorcycles and your cars look like, right? Because we want kids to see themselves in these careers. And that requires a different type of learning experience for our students. And so it's evident that when students are able to focus on career and have voice and choice in the types of learning experiences they have, AKA career pathways, this is the type of data that we see in graduation rates, okay? So we know this works already. It's about making sure that every student has opportunities to this, and right now they don't. Okay, $265 million. It's a lot of money, right? It's gonna affect taxes for our homeowners. And we all feel and know that property taxes, specifically in Polk County, are already pretty high, okay? I understand that concern. I also have those concerns. What I do struggle with is the lack of information, and it is up to us to share that. But when we take a look at, yes, Des Moines Public Schools has the largest fiscal budget than any other school district in the state of Iowa. It should. We serve more students than any other school district in the state of Iowa. We have more employees and more physical plant space than any other place, right? We also serve the highest percentage of students with IEPs, kids that don't have access to preschool, and multi-language learners. We should have a higher budget. But I've seen things out there where Des Moines Public Schools is being compared to Dubuque and Davenport. Look at how many millions of dollars DMPS has compared to these other districts. You're right. Go ask those other districts if they feel that they have enough funding, and they'll tell you no. Every single school district in this state will tell you that funding is an issue for them. So while we look really, really inflated and might be, people think that we might be bloated, right? Our challenges around finances, around allowable state aid, all of those are shared by our counterparts regardless of what our budgets are. Everybody will tell you, it looks like a lot, it's not enough, okay? So let's get into this. This is the information that has been provided. There's other slides that kind of break it down based on the price of your home value, how much money you will be spending every year. For majority of homeowners, it's the cost of a Netflix subscription every single month. I fully recognize and understand that even a $100 to $200 increase a year for some of our families is significant. So please don't hear me undermine that, but for a majority of people, it's a Netflix subscription of investing in our students, investing in our future, investing in 30,000. There are 30,000 reasons why we need $265 million to invest in our schools. We haven't come to the community since 1989 for a bond in our district. Look around at the facilities and the things that are happening around us and the last 10 years and how many of those districts have passed bonds with their communities. This is us coming to our community and saying, we know there's concerns, we know there's frustrations, we know there's challenges, and we do have some of the best programs than anywhere else, not only in the state, but in the country, and we want to make them more accessible. We want to do more of the things that we know are working in our schools. The last thing I will say about that is yes, we talk a lot about how much money is coming out of our pockets as homeowners, but when we have strong schools in our communities, we have strong communities. When we have more students enrolling into Des Moines Public Schools, what happens to property values? They go up. If we become a destination district and people want to move into our city, while every homeowner might be spending more, when they choose to move, or they choose to downsize, or they choose to upgrade, whatever it is, right? Because of our schools and because people want to come to our schools, our property values are going to go up. So I would be remiss if I also didn't bring up that point. We have the statewide penny sales tax. We have some information to show how, yes, we're asking for $265 million, but we also get saved dollars every year, and we can show you where we will be using those saved dollars over time to help with this investment. So it's not just the $265 million. We're also going to show you how we take PEBBLE funds and save dollars, right, which is our investment, into this plan alongside with our community. We're asking that we do that halfway. This is really small, you know, it's kind of hard to see. Again, this presentation will be made available. There'll be information on the website. And so what we're seeing is that these would be the bond dollars based on the 3 regions that I discussed. Here's where we're at for new builds, brand new builds, okay? And of course, we have to have contingency because we know that construction estimates, things like that, we always have to have a variance, okay? These are our save dollars within our plan that we will also be allocating. So I've heard from my South Side neighbors that, whoa, wait a minute, the South Side's only getting 53 million and the Northeast is getting almost 90 million. That doesn't seem equitable. Well, the South is also going to get our heaviest investment of our save dollars. Okay, so some examples around that. So again, this isn't just about physical plant space. We definitely need physical plant spaces. We do need to invest in our athletics and our activities and making sure that our students are engaged in those, because we know that when kids are engaged in sports and theater and music, right, again, when they have those passions, they perform better. This money is going to allow us to do that. This money is going to allow us to take a classroom of 30 kids that is about this much square footage, and we have rows of desks. What kind of learning happens when all our students can do is have just enough room to cram into a desk? We already have buildings. Lincoln High School is already serving 600 more students than it was designed to build. Our buildings are overcapacitated, folks. You can't get kids up and moving and engaging and interacting and touching things and building things and innovating things in classroom spaces that weren't designed for the type of education that our phenomenal staff are trying to do with our kids every single day. We have to invest in physical plant space for our students. It's time. It's been a really long time. It's time to do that. Again, the best part of the plan, in my opinion, isn't so much about the facilities, it's about the programming that we are going to be able to bring across more schools in our district. This is about us meeting with our community, which I've been a part of we both have been a part of the Reimagining committee that involved 80 school members, so internal stakeholders, families, we had students on that committee, we met for 2 years. This is a community plan. This is Des Moines Public Schools already being responsive to what the community has already asked us to do. And it does take money to do it. I know there are people that think money's not gonna fix it. Money's gonna fix it. It does. Okay? Education is expensive. And we're all, right? We all care about that. That's why you're here today. And I'm so grateful that you are. Okay? So let's go ahead and open it up for questions. Yes, ma'am.
I'm a retired Des Moines public school teacher. I taught at Central Academy for the last 15 years of my career, but I taught at UC for 11 years before that. I'm sure we were there. My name is Susan Stroop.
What did you teach?
Science. Okay.
I missed her.
And I understand. I mean, one of my pet peeves was the old guard teachers that sat around and said, well, in the 60s, this is the way it was, and why can't we have it that way? And I fear about falling into that kind of mindset, because I know we have a different demographic than we did when I was at East and at Central Academy. But what I taught at Central Academy, we had kids from Johnston, Urbandale, Earlham, North Polk, coming into our programs. Valley, we had kids from Valley coming to take classes at Central Academy and Central Campus. I think one of the things that education is famous for is forgetting about institutional history, forgetting about what worked, and then reinventing it, giving it a new buzzword, okay? So we talk about STEM, we talk about CTE. We've had that at Tech High School for decades, all right? I think you look at what worked, and then you figure out how you can make that fit into today's world. I understand, I mean, I taught it in middle schools for 20 years, so I get it. But I think that's one of the things that we're really at fault. And I also want to comment about the flyer that went out, the postcard, the big postcard that was mailed out.
At least you got one.
Well, I think that's a pretty good strategy. Working in local elections, I do write a lot of postcards. But there was just a lot of platitudes, a lot of pie in the sky, highfalutin language on that card. There were no specifics. And when I look at social media, which the only reason I do is to get a feel for what the flavor of the community is at the time, there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation. And if you guys are going to communicate about this program, you need to have specifics. I mean, I had a person tell me 2 days ago that Stowe Elementary was going to be closed. You know, that was part of the original $500 million plan, but that's, that got a lot of buzz because it was a flashy announcement, and then we scaled back. But there was very little effort put into redoing the information. And so, I think, I don't know, we need to address that, okay? So 2 things, look at what worked well in the past, reimagine that for going forward, and it may take $500 million instead of $265 million. And also be very specific about what this plan involves, instead of just, we're going to, have these nice high language type things that, make everybody feel good. But people want to know what they're going to get.
Appreciate that. We do have supplemental slides. This is our first community presentation. And
people aren't going to go to the website.
And we weren't sure how much to put in. So if I can just show a couple more supplementary slides specifically to this region. But I think we can show you the some of the specifics that we're talking about.
Because I'm also involved in my neighborhood association. This is the kind of information that we need to take.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm also taking notes of all the feedback that you guys are receiving, and we'll adjust.
So this shows you specifically with the plan here on the northeast side, this new northeast region. These are